So first of all, I would start thinking, how can you take what you have, your ideas about money, and then making it into a fancy presentation? That's next level.
It has been kind of on my to-do list to acquire a business. I have been divorced for a couple years now, and when I was married, my ex-husband and I had started a couple companies and acquired one actually. And so once you kind of get into the entrepreneurial, business owner space, it's really kind of hard to go back to work for someone.
Yeah, totally.
Which is what I've been doing for these last maybe 5 years or so. I've been kind of back to work, right? And I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And I have kind of toyed around with the idea of maybe starting something else because the point of entry is so low and often inexpensive. But the idea of how much work it would take to kind of scale to a point that I want to be to create an income is just not appealing. So I thought, maybe I could just kind of jump in the middle and take over someone's, currently running thing and just kind of walk into some income. I just want a constant stream of income that does not disrupt what I really want to do, which is hold on to a lot of family property and potentially make it income producing, which is a possibility. We have acres and acres of space in the South that I think I could make something happen. But again, my thoughts on how to use it is so much money that would need to get sunk into it to make it work that I need to have something over here to kind of maintain me while I can play over here and see if I can turn it into something. Yeah. So it's about 50-50, 50 and developing real estate to maybe be something, and 50% like I just need to eat while I work this out. Yeah.
Right. Totally. Cool. Okay. So I have a friend and his name is Lee Escobar, and he's a multimillionaire. He's worked for Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. And he is just a, real estate. He's amazing. He's a guru. He travels and teaches people every single week for the last at least 5 years, longer than that. I've known him for longer, and he's been doing it every weekend. And after you and I kind of chat a little bit about how I can help you, if you're comfortable with it, I'd like to bring him on and chat with you too. So as far as how I can serve you outside of the real estate aspect, it seems more of funding related, right?
Yeah.
As far as funding is concerned, that's what I am a specialist in. And really what it comes down to is having a presentation step by step. The first section is mainly your vision of what you're looking to do, to accomplish, which would be acquiring a business, a little bit of background, a little bit of story, a little bit of entertainment mixed with data and details. Then the second section is financials, which of course, since you're not starting a business, you're buying a business, it would just be, here are the parameters of a business that I'm looking to buy. Here's the kind of capital that I would need. Here's a general idea. And that really depends on whether you have your eyes set on a specific business in the beginning or not. If it is, you can say, this is the business I'm looking to buy. I just need the funding for it. If not, you say, I'm looking to buy a business between this and this. And basically it's about finding the person or the organization that is willing to give you that money, that wouldn't have the skill set to do that themselves. Like, why do they want to work with you, right? So really establishing the leverage you have over them, because maybe there's someone who has the money, but they don't have the skills and experience and expertise that you have, which seems to be a lot, right? So that section is just really selling them on the idea of, this is why I would like to give money to this person in order to do this for, instead of me doing it myself.
Right.
Now, if it's a private investor, which would come from your network, which we could talk about how you can proliferate throughout your network and find that person. One thing that is imperative when it comes to getting funding, whether it be from a grant, from a nonprofit that gets government grant money, or from a private investor, or even like crowd sourcing, things of that nature, crowd subscriptions rather, is that doing it in person versus submitting an application on the internet. Right? Because you are a human being that I'm talking to now, and I know you, and we're bantering back and forth. And these people whose job it is to take government money that they already have gotten and distribute it, to different people. That's what I got for my own brand that allows me to spend over 10 grand, a month on ads now is, and similarly to what, a little bit different, but the gals on my website who get 10,000 a month from Google for their advertising, it's like, you're basically creating this funding deck and sharing it with someone, but preferably in person. so that those people get to know you. So I'm giving you a super big, like 10,000 foot view overview that I realize we can't like go into, complete detail with over a call, but I'm here for you and we can chat about that. I also want to like mind Lee's time, but basically what I'm getting at from that is if you decide that you want to go for funding, then we can work together to make that happen. And, if that's just me giving you advice from afar, great, I'll hook you up. No big deal. Or if it ends up being more of a intense thing, we can talk about that too. But I think Lee might be able to really help too, because even though he's just involved in real estate, he also is just amazing at breaking things down and strategizing. And I'd love to bring him on and just chat and see what can be done. So from a funding perspective, I got you. And from a strategy, what to do with that real estate that you have in a way that feels right to you, all that stuff is stuff that I think that he'll be able to help with.
Okay.
All right. So, hey, Lee.
Yo, what's up, my man? How you doing, brother?
Good.
Hi.
Hello.
So this is April. This is Lee. Lee is, entrepreneur, real estate investor. He's a, friend of mine, mentor of mine, and just super successful, an author, multimillionaire, just doing it. And April, she is, I'll let you say for yourself, April, give them a little bit of your background, but she's already acquired a business, has some real estate in the Deep South. And I'll just let you guys chat it out.
Talking?
Hi, Lee. How are you? So what I've learned from Nathan today is I don't have my 15-minute elevator pitch prepared. So I'm going to kind of explain myself in a very disorganized kind of way, if you forgive me. I am looking for a pivot. I have been working as a program manager in tech space in Atlanta for the last couple of years now, post my divorce, and I hate it. I used to be a business owner, and I'd like to get back to it. And I have money has been an obstacle trying to get
what type of business you had before, April?
Logistics, trucking, a Landstar franchise, and tour buses and limousines.
So a lot with transportation.
A lot of transportation and logistics was 3 different businesses.
Well, that's good. That means you have a lot of skill with dealing with people.
With a wide variety of people, if trucking. Possibly purchase a business from some baby boomers that are going into retirement.
What type of business?
This business is involved in bottling, like with soft drink companies. So they make some of the components that are involved in glass bottling and aluminum cans.
Okay.
So they're looking to retire. They're motivated sellers. They're looking to possibly sell and seller finance as much as 40 to 50% of the purchase of the sale. And I felt like I could kind of walk into this, into a positive cash flow situation and possibly definitely expand it. And if not, it's still just a cash cow to me. And all of that is really just kind of foundational funding for ultimately getting into developing real estate that my family owns that I would like to keep in my family.
You already have great skills with dealing with people. I mean, the fact that you're talking, I can tell right now. In fact, you have that. The number one skill of an entrepreneur is raising capital.
Yes.
If you really think about the ideas for us are a dime a dozen. We come up with stuff so many times, but don't that holds people back is either implementation and or the funding. So the number one skill for an entrepreneur is raising capital. So what I would first tell you to do is just dive in, make it your number one priority. Make it your number one mission to do nothing but master money. Not how it necessarily works, but how the funding works, how to get it, and all the options that are out there. Now, I say that, and it's not just knowing like, okay, I need to go to a community bank to get this type of loan, but it's more like, how do you communicate to people? How do you put the package together? How do you show them that you know what you're doing, that you're not just someone saying, I want money? That's what's going to separate you from other people. So, that's where you want to stand out. You have your business plan, but not just a business plan set up in some documents that you print out, but make it into like a magazine, that type of format. Because while everyone else is just printing stuff out, here we are putting in a folder, so freaking, 1989 type of stuff.
Yeah.
Turn it into like a magazine type of format. Even nowadays you can even create books. I mean, imagine if someone's hitting you up or coming to you for $300,000 and said, hey, yo, let me borrow some money. Can you hook me up? your risk is out there, or, hey, here's some paperwork, here's some ideas. But if they came to you with like literally a hardbound book with all the information, the demographics and all the potential there, I mean, that's next level.
Mhm.
The market demands for you and for all of us to be above everyone else. People don't want to lose money, especially in times like this. So first of all, I would start thinking, how can you take what you have, your ideas about money, and then making it into a fancy presentation? That's next level. Now, going back to the number one skill of an entrepreneur, the reason why I said that was to come to this. The number one capital that all entrepreneurs use is going to be private money. It's going to be money from other people who want to make a return.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. If you master money, then part of it is your presentation, how to talk to people. That's why I said you're already good with talking to people. You had that skill. That's why when you said money, I asked you, how do you feel about talking to people? You're like, yeah. I can talk to people. I'm good at that.
Yeah.
But now it's a matter of taking it and packaging it together and mastering how private money works. Look at the Shark Tank. That's private money.
Yes. Right. Right.
And every entrepreneur is private money. So what I would do is I would dive deep into training and studying and researching how to do private money. But and so at any time you're borrowing money, don't come from the sense of give me, come from the sense of how can I serve you?
Yes.
Because if you come from how am I helping you, now your spirit, your intention, your mindset, your focus will be on helping people. And when you focus on changing lives, when you focus on improving people's lives, the money will come.
Okay.
People want to know that you're sincere and honest. Sincere and honesty is not like, yo, look at me. Here's what I can do. Here's what's happening. Here's what I've done. Yes, I care about you. It's not what we say. It's what they feel.
Yeah.
So the way to center that is start off with how can I serve them by borrowing their money.
April, that was a big part of our discussion when we talked about the pitch deck, how in the beginning and the end section, it's almost all about emotion. And
Yes.
that center section is all about, everything from demographics to financial breakdowns and things of that nature. When you're asked your ROI, your financial projections and all those, details. So in the mixture of not only having a beautiful presentation, touching into their emotions, but also doing your best to seek funding from people that you can have face-to-face or, digital like this communication with over submitting something on the internet.
Right.
Two big takeaways for sure.
Right. Okay.
I think that you have a lot of moving parts, but I think if you master the money part, when I first started and I didn't have money, the first focus is I need money for stuff. I used to hear people all the time saying, if you have a great idea, the money will come. And I would say, yeah, that's true. But knowing how to present the idea, knowing how to get people to believe in you, trust you, build rapport, just like was mentioned a second ago, is going to be important. So master people. There's the second skill an entrepreneur always wants to master is basically how to get people to say yes, which is negotiations, which would be sales, ethical sales, not unethical sales. Ethical sales is when you give people things that they want, or help them discover things they never knew they wanted that can serve their lives to help them get to where they want to. Unethical is forcing. That's not what you and I do. That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
Learning those skills to get people to say yes and how to raise money. Then once you have the ideas, it's just about connecting dots.
Gotcha.
And
Right.
before the call, April was talking about how she feels that she needs help with the negotiation side of things, that that's not something she's necessarily super, confident in. Would you recommend that she find someone to do that for her to acquire a company, or build the skill sets, or both? How would that look?
Now, because that answer can go to 5 different directions. So let's be a little bit more specific. With the negotiations, what part of the negotiations? What side of the coin is your apprehension?
Yeah, my inexperience projects, right? And so I can get a soft yes and I can't close, right? And I feel like my lack of experience kind of comes out insecure, and then we've got a deal that's fallen apart. I know that when I'm shopping businesses and I find them that are that have motivated sellers, right, willing to finance partially, I have these obstacles, and I just feel like I'm kind of this close to kind of getting a yes, but I don't know what to offer, for a solid decision, or, somewhere things are kind of falling apart. I've actually made offers on businesses in the past that have kind of fallen apart because I just, are back and forth. Something was lost, and I know a lot of it.
So what's falling apart? What's falling apart?
kind of what I'm offering in a negotiation. I guess, they're thinking I'm asking for too much. I don't know, but I've been trying to not let not having cash in hand be a reason to not make an offer, to not approach and say, hey, listen, what can we work out? I don't know, what else can I offer you? And sometimes they're kind of like, I don't know, what else can you offer? And, I lack the confidence. I don't have anything else to kind of put out there. And then we have, like I said, a deal that falls apart.
You just told me exactly what to do. You told me exactly what you need to do. All you got to do is say exactly what you said. Now, be your authentic self. Be real in negotiations. Look, I have nothing else on the table to bring you. What is it that you want from me that will get you to say yes to make this happen? You don't have to go into all this trickery stuff and try to do all this stuff where, like people out there say, do talk from your heart what your feelings are. Your feeling is right now what you just said. I don't know what's going on. I get to this situation, this happens here. Then they tell me no, and I don't know what to do. And just tell them that. Say, look, I've thrown everything on the table. Do you feel this is I'm a good fit? Are you a good fit? You want to make this happen? What will it take to make this work? There's nothing else I can do or say. What is it in your heart that you want? And just be real with people, be authentic. And that will come across more than to try to have some, I'm not saying don't study, learn, and master your skill.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is study. When you're in sales, when you're in those places and you're truly coming from a place of service, not, oh, what can you give me? What can I get? When you're stuck, what do you say? I mean, I have a daughter, and when she doesn't know what to do, I just say, hey, baby, what can daddy do for you to help you understand this? Because at that moment, it's not about me trying to get her to understand. It's about her trying to understand the situation. People are people. It doesn't matter what age they are. The situation gets bigger. So number one, when you're stuck, be your authentic self. Okay. Talk from your heart, talk from your pain. Hey, I'm stuck. I have nothing else to say. I don't know what's going on. I feel it's a good fit. This is what you want. I want. What is holding us back right now to making this work? And use that language. How can I serve you to make this work?
And what I hear Lee saying is asking good questions as opposed to trying to know what to say.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Changing it from I'm trying to convince you to exploring the problem.
Yeah.
Problems are not solved by talking to the problem. The problems are solved by asking the question, how can I fix this?
Right.
Not me talking to the problem. Hey, you got to fix it. How can I fix this? Problems are solved by one word, how.
Okay.
And that's a question. It's not a statement.
I am always super authentic. And so I know now that if it's a deal that wasn't done, I didn't do it wrong. It just was a deal that wasn't done.
And it's not about being not authentic. It's about when you're stuck, let them know, I don't know what else to do at that moment. Not trying to convince, or walking away. And even if you walk away, say, look, I call the ouch factor. And I was taught that by a mutual friend of ours, just so you know, Nate. She said it's the ouch factor. So anytime you feel an ouch, ask why. I'm walking away, I feel defeated. And just tell them, look, I feel like this didn't go right. What could have been done? What did I do? What can we do to make this better? Or better yet, here's my favorite question in a no. Every no is a learning step. But the problem is, and that's what I was getting to the second thing, people don't go back and write down. They try to remember. That's why I went back and say, tell me your last conversations. If I ask you right now what your last conversations, where you got stuck, you're searching in your head trying to figure it out. That is not what entrepreneurs do. Entrepreneurs use metrics, numbers, analytics. So a good way to do this is when you're done with a conversation, go back, recap it, do an after-action review. These are my problems. Here's what I got stuck. Here's what I felt. And start creating that list and start trying to solve it. Not doing it, but solution. The second thing, so here's the question I like to ask the seller. Obviously, this is not a good fit. Thank you. I mean, or whatever happens. Let's just pretend it falls apart. It's done. It's done. And you go back and ask this question. And you may want to write it down or commit it to memory.
Yes.
What could I do on my next presentation that I didn't do now that you think will get the person to say yes?
Yeah.
Or and it's about the next one. It's not about this one. What do you think I could do better on the next presentation to help someone see the value of this?
Yeah.
And then as they're telling you what you could have done better, and they're actually telling you what they needed to hear.
Yeah.
And then you can go back, and that's another opportunity to switch it back around and say, You know what? I guess that's me being naive, and it's okay to do that. I'm not good at this. It's not my forte. Here's a good secret about communications. Tell them what you can't do, and then tell them what you can do, and it'll bring power. Look, I'm not good at negotiations. I'm not good at doing this. I'm not good at trying to convince people. But what I am good at is I can run a business. I can take this business, move it from here to here. I can take this and move it to that. That's what I can do.
Humongous validation, Lee, because that's what I do. And I thought that perhaps I was on the wrong track, but that's all that I kind of know how to do. And so I have been doing that. And I talked to a banker, actually. We had a conversation. I've been taking the feedback, and I'm kind of in that particular space right now as the pandemic started. And I was like, forget it. I'm not going to stop, kind of being in motion and calling on these businesses just because all of this is kind of going on. And I'm trying to actually really double down right now, which is how Nathan kind of fell into the picture, because I feel like it's a time to kind of double up on my actions, to acquire, for instance, and look for funding. I feel like it's almost like the time is now. As everything is in chaos, I almost feel like it's the time to kind of take advantage. And I actually have been getting that feedback. And so
which feedback?
The feedback of what else I need to present, how else I need to ask, and that I'm not necessarily on the wrong track by admitting my weakness in negotiation. And I'm always, when I choose the business I'm shopping, when I choose the person that I'm potentially asking for funding, I'm always in a place of service. And I will not pick a thing that is just for the sake of money, or just a very transactional thing. I'm very tuned into that and who to approach, and knowing that my approach would potentially work best with the person at the other side of the table, if that makes sense. So I have, in fact, been collecting this kind of feedback and data just over these last couple of weeks. And this is part of the process. So having this conversation with you and knowing that it is absolutely okay to admit my shortcomings, it just ensures that I have, in fact, been on the right track, because that is the most authentic space for me to be in. And I wasn't sure if maybe I should just leave that part out. And, because it hasn't been successful yet, doesn't mean I was all the way off track.
Yeah, and I think it's super powerful feedback. It's honestly my favorite piece of feedback in this whole chat, because if I were looking to sell a business to you, April, and you were to start by telling me, hey, I'm not very good at negotiations, and then we start negotiating and you're kind of good, then I'm like, oh, my standards were down here, my expectations were down here, but she's pretty good. But if you tell me that you're great at it, or I assume that, and then at some point you're like, that's all I got, I'm thinking, what did I get myself into? And then I make the mistake of thinking that because you're not able to negotiate on that specific level, that you won't be able to run the business, but you're putting that forward in the very beginning before we even start. And then now it's like, I'm not the best negotiator, I know how to run a business. Yeah. And then it's like, wow, okay, cool, expectations set. So that's powerful.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, the expectation I would set your intention when you're talking with them. Say, hey, look, right now we're going to focus on the business portion and go from there. And what I like is, and you can use it in two spots, and I would go by feeling. Nate had mentioned do it in the beginning. And also I would say at some point also look at it as your final draw. I think it has, you've gone through your whole presentation, let them see the failings. So when you come with the failings, you can find value. They can give you the value that you need for them to say yes in case they say no. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Or you can do it twice. You can anytime you're going to present it, there's several ways to do it. In the beginning, that's it. Let them see it. At the end, after it's all done, or you do both, which is, hey, this first one's a soft one. Hey, I'm, in a moment, I always like to prep how people feel. Hey, when we get ready to start this, I just want to let you know that, I'm the business person. I'm not the negotiating person. So I'm just going to come at you with exactly everything I have, my numbers and this and that. Let's go from there. Boom, just leave it there. Let them know ahead of time.
Yeah.
And then at the end, if they say no, go back and do it again. And I always leave that for the walking away piece. The walking away piece is, in the future, when I make this presentation, obviously this can help people. What would you think they would need to see in order to turn a no into a yes?
Okay. And
then they'll go through and all that. And that gives you a second chance to maybe, I forgot that. I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's true. I can do that. And letting them know. And then you can use, again, I told you in the beginning, and always say that I'm not great at negotiations. I'm not good at negotiations. I'm not good at being unauthentic or fake. I'm not good at this stuff. But what I am good at is see these numbers. I can make it happen. I can communicate. I can get people to see the passion, and I can get people then go from there. So those are the options, beginning or at the end. In the beginning, give them a prelude of what's going to happen, and at the end, remember I said earlier, and believe it or not, that builds trust. Because if you tell them in the beginning and say, hey, look, I'm not good at negotiation, I'm not good at that, that's fine. Then at the end, you say, hey, remember earlier when I said I wasn't good at negotiations, and I'm not, but this is what I am good at.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of say, you know what, she did, foretell, she did tell the truth here. What else might she know?
No, that's true. I totally got it. And I needed to hear all of that. Because I started my call with Nathan saying these shortcomings. I started it in a very similar way that I kind of present when I'm looking for funding or when I'm, trying to, make an offer or something like that. And I do it very similar, as you can see.
Here's what will also separate you. I'm sorry. Sometimes I'm only interrupting because I get these ideas, and sometimes they just leave me, and it's valuable. And the second thing I would remind you of: start writing down and start logging all the mistakes and all the errors. Because when you log it, you're not gonna. If I ask you what was the last 10 mistakes you made, you're not gonna remember.
Yeah.
In the moment, you'll always say, "Oh, I can do this." Moment realization is different from transformation. You come to, and the question is, what do you want? Do you want to have a transformational moment from the learning process or an awareness moment? Awareness is, oh man, I messed up there and I need to do this next time. But the brain's going to forget what happened, because that's just the way the brain works. So we write it down, we log it, we go back and write the solution on it, and we focus on that being our priority to master that until it becomes a habit. And that's the difference between underachievers and overperformers. The average entrepreneur is like, hey, I made a mistake, learn from it, but they weren't transformed from it. They were just aware of it. Two different things. The true successful entrepreneurs are the ones who can have a logbook of here's where I made a mistake, here's a solution. And then to remember it, create a standard operating procedure or a checklist to make it part of your next presentation.
Yeah.
So before you get into your presentation, I got to remember, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. And when you rehearse it, there you are. The purpose of, so that was something I just want to bring to you.
No, good. That's valuable. Yeah.
I'm going to start doing that too. That's a good one, Lee. Like creating a logbook of the last 10 mistakes that I've made. That's an immense amount of clarity. I jumped on a call with Lee maybe a week or two ago for his business, and we were talking, and I was just blown away at how much clarity this man has. Like, he's like, these are my downfalls. These 5 downfalls that I have or weaknesses. Here are my strengths, and here's what you can do to make sure that 5 weaknesses don't become an issue in our business ventures. And I was blown away at that. So now he just turned that into an actionable for me. So just let me know.
But you know what? It makes so much sense, because I was sitting over here putting on quarantine pounds, right? And my logical brain knows what to do to keep it off or to get them off. So immediately I start kind of logging my steps. I start logging what I'm eating, right? It all makes so much sense. And I would do a general assessment. And like you said, awareness is different than transformation, right? So when I'm doing business, though, I wouldn't be quite so literal. I would just kind of get off a call and go, okay, what happened? Oh, I shouldn't have said X, and I move on. But I know what to do. I already know what to do. Like you said, like being, running, kind of keeping that log. And I am doing that, and that will happen after this phone call. So even as aware as I now say I am, and validated from the things that we've covered, I think I was dismissing some of my weaknesses and not even attempting to work on them, because I just wanted to kind of hyper focus on what I can do, which is, management and standard operating procedures and so on and so forth, and just kind of ignore the rest. But I see where I can now kind of plump up those other areas, because presentation is as important as content, if not more, especially when you're asking for money, right? And I get that. And I know now to make it execute in a different kind of way, not to just know that I'm not a master negotiator, but to really kind of pay attention. And even if it's just, like you said, open with that soft tell and say that I'm not, that still that's a thing that can be executed, even if I'm not expanding on, finessing, negotiating. But I get it. No. And again, it's one of those very basic things that you know what to do to not gain 10 pounds, you know, it was those 10 cookies. And when you write down the 10 cookies, you're like, wow, you know what I mean? It's more than just I ate some cookies, it's I ate 15 cookies. And, you know, so I know that. So I appreciate that. And it will kind of manifest differently after
And
this
the
call. So I appreciate
challenge,
that. That was golden.
the challenge of implementing is the challenge.
Yeah.
Going from ignorance to knowledge, that's the easy part. I don't know what to do. Now I can learn how to do it. Anyone can do that.
Yeah.
But going from knowledge to behavior,
Yeah.
that's where the people are usually not in alignment at. And learn to master how to go from knowledge to behavior.
Yeah.
Master that one, man. It's unstoppable. All the people who are hyperachievers, the ones who get where they want, they've learned how to master knowledge to behavior.
Yeah.
And that comes from learning your emotions. Why do you feel the way you feel? Why are you going through what you're going through? And then tracking it, looking at it, and analyzing it so it doesn't happen again. You know, it's like sports. You know, if you have a pro athlete, how do they get better? They don't get better while they're playing. They get better after they look at the tapes.
Yeah.
Then they analyze it in a room. Then they go out and work on that one problem over and over and over and over until they've improved.
Yeah.
People do it for sports, just like you mentioned, but not everyone thinks about doing it for business. And in business, we are made of emotion. We're made of knowledge of what we know, and we're physical. So our body has to be in a good place. Our mind has to be in a good place, and our emotion. And anytime we don't behave like we want, it's one of those three things. Either I'm tired, my body's something going on, something in my head is telling me I'm feeling. So if you start to measure those and look at them, then you can find out when they happen, why they happen, and then you can just catch it and be like, you know what? I already know where you're coming from, dude. I know why you're telling me I can't do it. Forget you. Peace out. Because you've explored it. You haven't just said, oh my gosh, I shouldn't do it. Embrace it. Love the fact that you should know you shouldn't mess with those cookies, but you ate it anyway. And love it. Because if you look at it from that perspective, you say, well, why did I do that?
Yeah.
What's the gap that's stopping me from not eating those cookies or eating them? Then when you analyze it and look at it and create your actionable steps to say, you know what, here's how I'm going to overcome it.
Yeah.
Not guilt, awareness for transformation, not guilt for being to go backwards.
Right. And that's the moat, right? That's the divide, like you said, between those that are overachievers and those that just have good ideas, right? Like,
I might even just say from those who are from the wannabes to the ones who have, you know, from the dreams to the ones who don't have the dreams, from the ones who are always thinking about it and it never, that's the difference.
Yeah.
Then you have people who halfway do it. Then you have the ones who just become average entrepreneurs. So an entrepreneur is above average to the average person. But then when you start mixing with the same types of entrepreneurs, you'll start noticing people are at different levels. And the success is totally dependent upon where they're at with their implementation and their behavior. Master that one early on and as soon as possible. You know, it took me 46 years to figure that one out. I'm just now learning what I'm talking about over the last couple of years. And I've done pretty well, what other people would consider pretty well. But there's always something sometimes I could have done more, I could have done better. How come I haven't done it? And it beat me up. Instead of looking at it from a beating me up perspective, it's looked at now as what is my mind, my body, and my emotion trying to tell me so I can fix it next time.
I got it. I got that loud and clear. Thank you.
So April, what are some takeaways that you can take? Maybe you give yourself a deadline for certain things, whether it be, you know, just any of the takeaways from this call. Action.
Data is crucial. You know, make sure I'm really accurately measuring and reassessing, you know, kind of everything that I've done so that I don't repeat mistakes. That's humongous. I mean, I have not been doing that in that way in business. And again, I mean, I know it seems so basic, but it's part of my emotional trigger, which is going to make the difference between my next actions, which is me talking about my shortcomings, you know, right in, you know, at the front of our call. You know, I know what I need to work on. I know you know, I'm not as far as I thought. So it actually, you know, it probably has been an emotional trigger that's been creating my own obstacle, right? Because I know my logical brain says to me, cash is not stopping me per se, right? And I know that it's an emotional obstacle, you know what I mean? And so when I initiated having this call, it was about honestly having another person say out loud, like, you know, like, a banker is not stopping you. And, you know, my logical brain knows that, but I need the two to meet up. And it will meet up when I do that, when I take that data and I take that feedback and I look at it from an unemotional space, right? Because numbers don't lie. So when I'm looking at this kind of feedback, you know, I'm not kind of killing myself. Like you said, a lot of it is you beat yourself up. You know, I failed and it didn't go through, but not closing a deal isn't always a failure. You know what I mean? It's kind of like how you functioned in it, right? Like a lost game isn't, you know, your personal statistics can be a thing even when you lost the game per se, right? So it's not a complete failure. And I think that I'm going to function, not think, I know that I can function, you know, from a kind of less emotional or, you know what I mean, place, you know, moving forward in regards to actions, because when I'm looking at the data and the feedback, you know, it is what it is, right? You know, it's not my kind of personal baggage kind of creeping in, right? And
Can
so
I
when
add
I'm
something to
looking
this?
at it, I know I can make a decision from it. And that's the huge thing I'm leaving with today.
And let me add to this too for you. The emotion is okay to feel too. We're physical, mental, emotion.
Uh-huh.
When you have an emotion that hinders you from doing what you want, explore it and find out why.
Yeah.
So everything is data. Why? Why am I thinking this way? Why am I feeling this way? Why don't I want to get out of bed right now? What's
Yeah.
wrong with my body? What am I eating? And you start to explore it in a different way. So the emotion is okay. Embrace the emotion, love the emotion, because the emotion is what moves you. The brain is the car, the gasoline is the emotion, you know,
Mhm.
or I should say the brain is the motor, the body is the body of the car, and the gasoline is always going to be your emotion. So we got to have all three of those going. And
Mhm.
so if the gas runs out, you got to ask yourself, well, how come the gas ran out? Or what was wrong with the gas?
Mhm.
Embrace the emotion, love it. We're pushed by emotion.
I got it. Thank you, Lee.
Well, thanks, Lee. Thanks, April. Hey, Lee, where can people find you online?
Oh, she can go to richwarrior.com. She wants to do that.
richwarrior.com.
Yeah.
Warrior.com. Got it.
Awesome.
And go from there. And so I think I enjoyed this conversation more than y'all loved hearing it. I always love this stuff, man. It's always good because, believe it or not, I get more insights, April, whenever I talk about things. And so sometimes I get blown away. So thank you for the opportunity to help get better myself, and be able to put all these thoughts together. So thank you for that.
No, thank you. It was a very valuable conversation. I appreciate you taking the time on Sunday in the middle of quarantine. I appreciate it.
Well, there's not a lot to do, right, during quarantine. All right, awesome stuff.
Excellent.
All right,
Thank you again.
Thanks. April, stay in touch. Let me know how it's going. Feel free to, shoot me a message and give me an update. Here for you.
Thank you, Nathan. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right, April.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.